The Happy Prince. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin gold leaves. For eyes he had two bright sapphires. A large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. He was admired by all who saw him.
What a beautiful statue,
Said one of the town councillors. Why can't you be like the Happy Prince? Huh? Asked a mother to her little boy who was crying. The Happy Prince never dreams of crying for anything.
He looks just like an angel,
Said older children.
I am glad there is someone in the world who is quite happy.
Muttered a disappointed man as he gazed at the wonderful statue. One night, a little swallow flew over the city. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks ago as the winter was fast approaching, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. He had been flying all day and was tired. He decided to rest in the city for the night before continuing his journey.
Huh? Where shall I put up?
He said. Then he saw the statue on the tall column.
Ah, I will put up there. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air,
He cried. So he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. Just as the swallow was preparing to sleep, a large drop of water fell on him.
How curious!
He cried.
There isn't a single cloud in the sky, yet it is raining.
Well, if the statue cannot protect me from rain, I'd better look for somewhere else to sleep, he said, and decided to fly away. And he was about to fly, another drop of water fell on him. He looked up and saw. Ah, what did he see? The eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity.
Who are you?
He said.
I am the Happy Prince.
Came the reply.
Why are you weeping then?
Asked the swallow.
When I was alive and had a human heart,
Answered the statue.
I did not know what tears were. I never cried because I lived in a palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. In the daytime, I played with my friends in the garden, and in the evening danced in the palace hall. Round the garden ran a very lofty wall, but I never cared to ask what lay beyond it. Everything about me was so beautiful. Everyone called me the Happy Prince, and indeed I was happy. So I lived, and so I died. Now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see all the misery of my city. Though my heart is made of lead, yet I weep.
Said the Happy Prince in a soft voice.
Far away, I can see a very sick child. His mother is very poor. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, can you be my messenger and give her the ruby from my sword so that she can take care of her child?
The Happy Prince looked so sad that the swallow agreed to be his messenger.
It is very cold here,
He said.
but I will stay for one night.
Thank you, little swallow.
Said the prince. The swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew with it in his beak over the roofs of the town to the poor woman's house. He dropped the ruby on her lap and flew over the sick child, fanning him with his wings. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done. He remarked,
It is curious. I feel quite warm now, although it is quite cold.
That is because you had done a good deed,
said Prince, and little swallow began to think and then fell asleep. Thinking always made him sleepy. When day broke, he flew to the river and had a bath.
Tonight I will fly to Egypt,
said the swallow. When night came, the happy prince said,
Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not stay with me one more night and help someone in need?
I'm waited for in Egypt,
answered Swallow.
I can see a young man,
said Prince.
He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he is too cold and hungry to write. There is no more fire in his grate and no food in his house. My eyes are made of sapphires. Pluck out one of them and take it to him.
Dear prince,
said the swallow.
I cannot do that.
And he began to weep.
Swallow, swallow, little swallow,
said the prince.
Please do as I tell you.
So the swallow plucked out one of the prince's eyes and flew away to the young man's home. The swallow dropped the sapphire on the young man's hand.
Thank you for your generous gift.
The young man cried with happiness. On the next night, the swallow went to the prince and said,
I have come to bid you goodbye.
Swallow,
said the prince,
will you stay one night longer?
It is winter,
answered the swallow.
In the square below,
said the happy prince,
there stands a little match girl. Her matches have got spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring some money. Give her my other eye.
The swallow was sad to pluck out the prince's other eye. He swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into her hand. Then the swallow came back to the prince.
You are blind now,
he said.
So I will stay with you always.
And so the swallow stayed with the prince. He sat on the prince's shoulder and told him tales of distant lands, of kings and queens, of life in a desert and of great lakes. Every day the prince would ask the swallow to help the people with the fine gold leaves that covered his body. Leaf after leaf brought happiness to so many faces. The swallow picked off the gold, leaf by leaf, till the happy prince looked dull and grey. Then the winter came, bringing snow and frost. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too well. He tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings, but at last he knew that he was going to die. He flew to the prince's shoulder. Goodbye, dear prince, he murmured.
I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow,
said the prince.
It is not to Egypt that I am going,
said the swallow.
I am going to the house of death.
He kissed the prince and fell down dead at his feet. At that moment, a loud crack sounded inside the statue, and the leaden heart of the prince snapped in two. The next morning the mayor was walking by. As he passed the column, he looked up at the statue.
How shabby the happy prince looks.
His sapphire's eyes have gone, and so has the ruby from his sword. He looks like a beggar.
He said,
And there's a dead bird at his feet too. He is no longer beautiful or useful,
said the art professor. The statue was pulled down and melted in a furnace,
How strange!
said the overseer.
This broken lead heart will not melt. We must throw it away.
They threw it on a dust heap where the dead swallow was lying. Meanwhile, God said to one of his angels,
Bring me the two most precious things in the city.
The angel brought him the laden heart and the dead bird.
You have rightly chosen,
Said God.
for in my garden of paradise this little bird shall sing for evermore, and in my city of gold the happy prince shall praise me.
Oscar Wilde.